Now, 5 sub-zero temperatures can bring a host of dangerous problems, including freezing our pipes solid. Yana Hatala talks with us, the experts, on how you can protect your pipes during the cold winter months.
And we saw a little bit of wintry precipitation overnight last night. We had some winter weather advisories, but those were canceled. But there's still slick spots on the roadways. We'll take a look at all that coming up.
Also, frozen pipes can lead to bigger dangers like house fires. Joplin firefighters had to battle a blaze that may have been caused by frozen pipes.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Carrie Worthen.
I'm Chris Warner. So some of you getting an extra day off today because, a lot of places this is the observed Christmas holiday. So driving into work, I don't know about you, but there was nary a car on the road.
There wasn't, but there was some slick spots on the road.
There have been some slick spots out there this morning, so that's something you have to be cautious about. I had to do a little scraping on my car. Thankfully, it wasn't anything too intense, and we haven't, of course, seen a lot of melting across the area because, well, I don't know if anybody noticed over the weekend, but it was still cold. So if you are heading out this morning, those of you who have to still go to work, or maybe you got to run to the store, get something, you didn't get over the weekend, it might take 1 to 2 minutes extra to get some of that stuff off your car. A lot of it seemed to be sleet, at least on my car. And you can see the Skywatch Storm Tracker showing a little bit of frozen precipitation trying to fall out in southeast Kansas, most of this not reaching the ground. Could be a little breezy today, but I wanted to show you this. Now, we're still a couple of days out, but boy, I tell you, the wind tracker is one thing that has been accurate in the past. Yeah, as we head through into tomorrow in the middle of the week, look at some of these wind gusts. This could be a hazardous situation, honestly. When you've got wind gusts pushing 50, almost 60 miles an hour, it could easily down some tree limbs and possibly some power lines as we are ahead of our next weather maker. And look at the wind arrows, though. They're blowing out of the south, which means it's going to warm up. Right now, though, not so much. It's 32 in Joplin. This is pretty much our high. This is as warm as it's going to get. Our temperatures are going to fall through the day. We are clear. Southwest breeze at 10, making it feel like 24 out there across the region. We're going to be nice to start the day, but again, it's going to get cold. 30 in Pittsburgh, Lamar, 27 Miami, 31 Neosho, and 30 in Yates Center. Factor in the wind, feels like 18 in Iola, 25 Columbus, feels like 23 in Carthage. As we go, I wanted to show you this real quick because Ron's yelling at me already. We do have some slick spots and some partially covered roadways in southeast Kansas. So if you're traveling this morning, do be cautious. And we're getting the same situation on the Missouri side as well, especially in the Joplin area and points north. We do have some partially covered roadways out there, so give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. 33, again, our high now. Temperatures will fall through the day, be a little bit breezy. We'll have partly cloudy skies, and as we head into tonight, dropping back down to a very chilly low of 10 degrees. But we have a lot of warm weather on the way. We'll talk about all that in your full forecast here in a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Chris. A Christmas Day crash leads to serious injuries for a Purcell, Missouri woman. Troopers say a 2023 Buick Terraza driven by Lisa Bryan of Purcell traveled off the right side of the road and struck a tree. She was transported to Mercy Hospital in Joplin with serious injuries. Frozen pipes can lead possibly to bigger issues at hand as well. Joplin authorities responded to a fire shortly after 8 a.m. in Royal Heights neighborhood on Friday. Authorities say residents were working to thaw frozen pipes under the sink and unknowingly started a fire within the walls. The fire was under control shortly after 11. No one was hurt. Police arrest 2 people who they say robbed a Pittsburgh convenience store. Authorities say just before 5 Friday morning, they got a call about a robbery at the Snack Attack. At the same time, they noticed a 29-year-old Benjamin Lewis running down an alley in the area and get into a waiting car. Officers started chasing. Lewis then left the car and tried to hide under a house. Lewis was arrested along with the car's driver, 27-year-old Cheyenne McNaught. Firefighters came to the aid of a dog owner trying to save their pup after it fell through a frozen lake. The Oklahoma City Fire Department said its crews were called to the scene where a dog owner was holding a rope attached to the dog that had fallen through the ice. Firefighters used a paddle boat to rescue the dog and bring it back to the shore. The dog had no apparent injuries, the department said. Four staters may experience their pipes freezing from the cold winter weather. Paul Keys, a local plumber in Pittsburgh, says when the air temperatures are -20 with a 25-mile-an-hour wind, pipes are freezing. There are times when just one pipe is frozen and it can be thawed with the hairdryer. For larger issues, Keys and his team use jet heaters to thaw pipes under the houses, but it is important to keep safety in mind when doing it, as heaters can cause a fire.
Anytime you put a heat source under your house, you need to be careful. All of my people carry a fire extinguisher with them. If you are trying to do something to heat under your house, you should have a fire extinguisher ready, and you should not leave it unattended.
Keys says they usually thaw a house out in about an hour or two. He also says about half of the time pipes will thaw out without a broken line. Coming up in the show, Yana Hotela talks with us for a closer look at the story. It's important to help one another during the season of giving. For some volunteers from the community were able to just do that with the Salvation Army in Joplin. The group hosted a Christmas Day lunch for those in need.
I think it's important for everybody to give back, not only on Christmas, but we have to remember after Christmas too, because that's when the need arises even more. And after the first of the year, people are back to where they were, where they were before. So it's important that we not only remember Christmas, but we remember the other days of the week.
The Joplin Salvation Army was able to give away nearly 300 meals to those in need this Christmas. Local churches, KNEO 91.7 FM and the City of Neosho hosted their 20th annual community Christmas dinner on Sunday. The event was held in Neosho Municipal Auditorium, but the meal delivery was available upon request. This year, over 500 people received a meal.
There's no doubt what sustains it is the people. God working through the people and the people working together. The Neosho community, Newton County community, they're just giving people. They care about people. Neighbor helps neighbor, and this is just another way to help the neighbors. Some you never know, but we do have a place for them to come, and especially this year, it's a little cold outside, so it's a good place to come in and get warm.
Meals were delivered to the Neosho Fire and Police Departments, local EMS, the Newton County Jail, those that are homebound, and those that receive Meals on Wheels. On Saturday in Monette, Missouri, people were able to receive a Christmas lunch at the First United Methodist Church. People from Monette and neighboring Pierce City were able to dine in or drive through at the church. The church also ran a gift program for the kids. Some of the organizers included the son and grandson of the founder of this event.
He just eating Christmas dinner one day with our family, had a bunch of food left over, and he knew people that didn't have food, so we just started it the next year. I think we had 12 people that year.
This is our 45th year, and I'm 45 years old. My grandpa started this when I was born, so this is the only Christmas I know.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Every fall, KOAM puts on its annual Pigskin Preview with predictions on area high school and college teams. Our sports director, Jake Millard, lets us know how well those predictions went. Plus, ever wonder what it takes to get your mail from point A to point B? It's not as easy as you think. We'll show you the inner workings of the postal system. And you don't need spirits to get in the holiday spirits. We've got 5 tips for how to stay sober for the holidays. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Well, every year our sports department takes a look at area football, high school, and colleges and makes predictions based on who's going to do well and who's not going to do so well. Here's KOAM Sports Director Jacob Leonard to tell us how well the predictions went for this year's Pigskin Preview in a segment he calls Knew It, Blew It.
Every fall, we put out our annual Pigskin Preview, and in that preview, we make predictions for high school and college teams from all across the area. That's a tough thing to do, and ultimately, we get some right and we get some wrong, sometimes really wrong. So, here we go. It's where we knew it and where we blew it.
Where we blew it.
The Seneca Indians, I'm not gonna lie, I thought we may have seen the best of them in 2021, but they were even better this fall. We picked them to go 6-3. They finished 8-1 in the regular season, including knocking off top-ranked Lamar. Seneca made it all the way to the Class II state semifinals. They are now 19-7 in their first 2 years under Cody Hilburn with 2 district championships.
Where we knew it.
The Girard Trojans, we picked them to go undefeated in the regular season, and for the second straight year, that is what they did. The Trojans' closest game of the regular season was actually week 1 against Columbus. From there, they drilled everybody, finishing with a 10-1 overall record and their second consecutive regional title.
Where we blew it.
The Pittsburgh State Gorillas. I thought they were going to be really good, but they were even better than I thought. We had them in the magazine at 9-2. They went 11-0 in the regular season and won their first MIAA title since 2014. They also made the playoffs, and the team that knocked them out, Ferris State, went on to win the national title.
Where we knew it.
The Missouri Southern Lions, they took a step in the right direction last year. We thought they would take another this year, and they did. The Lions finished with 4 wins this fall in their second full season under head coach Atiba Bradley. It's the first time since 2014 they've won 4 games, and 3 of their losses were by 4 or fewer points. So Southern, still a program definitely on the way up.
Where we blew it.
We blew it on the Miami War Dogs. We picked Miami to go 3-7. They got things turned around and went 6-4 in the regular season. And not only that, but the War Dogs made the playoffs for the first time in more than a decade.
Where we knew it.
Well, I didn't think there was anybody on Chanute's schedule that could compete with them in the regular season, and that proved to be true. Chanute went 8-0 as we predicted, and their closest game in the regular season was a 15-point win over Pittsburgh. The Comets made it all the way to the regional championship game and finished with a 9-1 overall record.
Where we blew it.
The Quapaw Wildcats, we had them in the preview at 5-5, and they were a lot better than that. Quapaw went 9-1 in the regular season. I said it all year, this was one of my favorite teams to watch this season. They finished with a 10-2 overall record, their first 10-win season since 1995. So there you have it. Of course, there were more where we got it right and wrong. Those are just the ones that stood out most to me. The good news, we'll get another shot at it next fall.
Well, still to come, Christmas may have come and gone, but that didn't stop the war in Ukraine. We'll have the latest, and we're going to take another look at that.
On KOAM TV, channel 7.4.
Give to Loving Grace for Giving Tuesday, November 29th to the end of the year. Donate at lovinggrace.org.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a growing number of people are becoming sober curious, meaning they want to try sobriety. But in this season of holiday parties, family get-togethers, and events, it may be harder to say no to a cocktail. Manny Gather has tips from a psychiatrist on how to have a happy, healthy, and sober holiday season.
You don't need spirits to get into the holiday spirit, especially if you're already feeling blue this season.
We know that alcohol, as a central nervous system depressant, can actually make that worse.
If you need help staying alcohol-free over the holidays, focus on why it's important to you, says Dr. Trent Hall with Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center.
Sometimes it can be helpful to actually write that down in the form of a list and to carry that with you to holiday celebration.
If you're going to a party or get-together, Hall says to invite a sober friend to enjoy the night with you. Bring your own alcohol-free beverages to help keep you on track.
You might also find yourself watching other people around you who are drinking alcohol. And sometimes, unfortunately, their behavior can remind us of why we chose not to drink in the first place.
Hall says to think of the next morning, how good you'll feel avoiding a hangover, and celebrate your success working toward being healthier. Avoiding cocktail calories is another benefit of staying sober.
If you're sober curious, that having a merry, alcohol-free holiday leads right in to a happy, healthy new year.
If you tend to drink in stressful situations over the holidays, you may also think about limiting your time around difficult people and having an escape plan, a way to get away from that added stress if needed be. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Well, a few of us got a little bit of wintry precipitation out there, so there are still some slick spots on the roadways, and of course, it was cold through the holiday weekend as well, so we didn't really see much melting going on. You can see the roads are a little bit wet, and that's kind of what I ran into. There was mostly wet, but there were still some slick spots out there. And in terms of that wintry precip, you may have to do a couple of extra minutes of scraping this morning. At least on my car this morning, it was more of a sleet and light ice mix on there, so it was pretty easy to get off, but just give yourself some time to take care of that. Skywatch Storm Tracker thinks it's picking up some wintry precipitation across southeast Kansas. Most of this not actually reaching the ground right now, so that's definitely good news. However, as we head into the week ahead, we're going to start to see warmer weather. We're also going to start to see very strong wind gusts pushing 40, 50, 55 miles an hour. We'll take a full look at your forecast when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Skywatch Storm Tracker, again, thinks it's picking up some wintry precipitation in southeast Kansas. Most of this is not reaching the ground. Now, as we head through the week, we've got some very gusty winds headed our way and possibly some rain chances as well that we'll get to. But as you see, as we head into Tuesday afternoon, look at some of these gusts pushing 40 miles an hour. By Wednesday morning, we're looking at gusts pushing 50, 55 miles an hour potentially. But the other part of this, look at the wind arrows. They're out of the south, which means they're going to be ushering in warmer temperatures for us. But look at these wind gusts. That's enough that it could bring down tree limbs or even power lines if we get winds gusting to 50, 60 miles an hour, so be prepared for that. Right now, we're at 32 degrees. This is really about as warm as we're going to get today. Temperatures are going to fall through the day. Feels like 24 with a southwest wind at about 10. Across the region, it is a cold start to our Monday. We got 27 Iola, 30 Pittsburgh, Miami, Neosho, 31 Carthage, and 29 in Nevada. You factor in the wind, feels like 20 in Iola, 19 in Nevada, 26 Miami, and feels like 26 in Neosho. Now, KDOT in our region still reporting some what they call wet pavement to partially covered roadways from the wintry precip we got overnight. So if you're traveling this morning, be aware that you could run into slick spots out there. Missouri on that side as well, reporting some of the same things, some partially covered pavement. Roughly Joplin and points north are where we're seeing that. So give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going today. Again, early high of 33 will be partly to mostly cloudy. Temperatures begin to fall throughout the day. And as we head into tonight, it gets downright cold, down to 10 for an overnight low, mostly cloudy, potentially just straight up cloudy skies as we head into the overnight. 7-day forecast, take a look. Look at this warming trend. It's not bad. We get into Wednesday, 52, 63 by Thursday. Maybe some evening thunderstorms that carry on into Friday morning. Your New Year's weekend looking milder than what we saw over the Christmas weekend. We're watching some rain chances on New Year's Eve, but those should be out of here before you begin your evening festivities. Well, the busy holiday season, the U.S. Postal Service has delivered more than 10 billion packages and pieces of mail. It takes a lot of workers and a lot of technology. So how does the post office deliver mail? That's a good question. And here's Heather Brown with the answer.
So it's 5 o'clock right now and you're still delivering mail.
Yes.
What time did you start this morning?
Started at 6 this morning.
By the end of the day, Bernie Schroeder will have delivered to 500 homes.
Oh gosh, is it always like that?
This time of year, yes.
He and the other carriers leave the back of the Eagan post office each morning with full trucks.
This is where all the trucks come in.
Dana Smith oversees the customer service.
When the carrier comes in the morning, they grab their packages.
Which they then sort by address.
They get all their other mail ready, and then they leave through that door.
The hundreds of letters Bernie will deliver that day have already been sorted the night before.
What we're doing at breaking it down, letters, parcels, flats, etc.
At a 90-acre mail processing plant a few miles away in St. Paul.
So this building will run all night long?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
First, they flatten the pieces of mail that come from the trucks to the conveyor belt so they can be fed into this machine.
So this machine will flip the card in the right direction.
Correct.
It'll scan the zip code.
Correct.
It will also spray in orange an ID tag, and then will spray in black a barcode that holds all of the address's information.
How fast is this moving?
Fast. Roughly 32,000 an hour.
From there, the machine sorts the letters by location into 12 different bins. Those bins are then brought to other machines, which sort by zip code and finally individual address.
So what this machine does, it now sorts it by address.
Correct. Walk sequence for the carrier.
Which means the letters are now all in the right order for the carrier's route. At the same time, from above, the barcodes on packages are being scanned too.
Each bin has its own post office.
Right. It could go to Northfield, it could go to Eagan, St. Paul, whatever. We'll run all night, all the way until the morning. roughly about 3:45.
So this mail will be on trucks tomorrow morning.
Yep, be delivered tomorrow morning.
Where Bernie will be waiting.
This time of year, it's fun when you're delivering all the packages.
Heather Brown.
They're like, oh, yay, it's here. Thank you. You made my day. That makes you feel good.
Our question for you this morning, how do you stay in touch? Is it mail, text, phone, email, all of those things, or maybe something different? We want to hear from you. Make sure you vote through our website, through our app, and of course take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We'll be right back after this.
Good morning. I'm Carrie Worthen with your KOAM News Update. Many area roads are clear now, but there are some that could still be dangerous. It's important to still keep an eye out for any patches of ice while driving. Officials with Joplin Public Works say they are continuing to treat roads to keep them safe. Some four-staters may experience their pipes freezing from the cold winter weather. Paul Keys, a local plumber in Pittsburgh, says the air temperatures are -20 with 25-mile-an-hour winds. Pipes are freezing. There are times when just one pipe is frozen and it can be thawed with a hairdryer. For larger issues, Keys and his team use a jet heat to thaw pipes under the houses, but it is important to keep safety in mind when doing it, as a heater can cause a fire.
We've got a pretty decent day, but a cold day. Early high of 33 degrees, and the temperatures will fall through the day. Maybe some gusty winds out there. Will be partly to mostly cloudy as the day progresses. Heading into tonight, we're going to drop back down to a very chilly 10 degrees with partly or mostly to just plain old cloudy skies ahead of us. And as we look ahead, though, we have some hope on the horizon. Up to 39 tomorrow, 52 by Wednesday. Maybe some evening storms getting into Friday morning. 63, 58, and some showers possible on New Year's Eve, but a much milder holiday weekend for us as we head into Saturday and Sunday.
Right now at 5:30, sub-zero temperatures can bring a host of dangerous problems, including freezing our water pipes solid. Yana Hotela talks with the experts on how you can protect your pipes during the cold winter months.
And some of us saw a little wintry precipitation overnight that's led to additional slick roadways out there. We'll talk about that and a warm-up that's on the way coming up.
Also, frozen pipes can lead to bigger dangers like house fires. Joplin firefighters had to battle a blaze that may have been caused by frozen pipes.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Carrie Worthen.
I'm Chris Warner. So it is another chilly start for us today. And unfortunately, where we are right now is as warm as it's going to be all day. Temperatures are going to be falling as we go through the afternoon. You can see in the headlights of these cars here at I-44 and Rangeline, the MoDOT camera there, you can see the road's a little bit on the wet side. That's kind of what I ran into on the way in. There's some wet spots and then there's some straight up frozen spots because we did get a little wintry precipitation last night. So you may have to spend an extra minute or two out there scraping your car. The good news is it's not too terrible, but nonetheless, some scraping could be required. Skywatch Storm Tracker thinks it's picking up some wintry precipitation in southeast Kansas, but the good news is the majority of that not actually reaching the ground. We could see a few gusty winds today. It's later this week that those winds really pick up. Look at this by Wednesday morning. Wind gusts 50, possibly even reaching up close to 60 miles an hour. And that's ahead of our next round of some showers and maybe some thunderstorms. 32 in Joplin right now. Again, that's as warm as it gets. 24 is what it feels like with southwest breeze at 10. Across the area, it's a cold start for us today. 27 Iola, 29 Chetopa, 30 in Miami, 30 in Lamar, and 31 over in Carthage. And you factor in the wind, feels like 20 in Iola, 26 Miami, and feels like 23 in Carthage. KDOT still reporting some what they call wet pavement to partially covered roadways across southeast Kansas, so do be careful out there. There are still slick spots, and we're seeing the same thing on the Missouri side, mainly within the city of Joplin and points north. MoDOT reporting some partly covered roadways out there as well, so just slow down, give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. It's not a race. Again, early high of 33, temperatures falling throughout the day, 25 by noon, 21 by 5, 17 by 8, under partly to mostly cloudy skies. And as we head into tonight, a cold one ahead of us, 10 degrees for the low, as we'll see increasing cloud cover through the evening, up to 13 by 6 a.m. But the good news is despite the fact we're going to see those 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts, they are out of the south. They are ushering in much warmer weather, and a little later in the show, we'll take a full look at your forecast, including the New Year's weekend. Again, just a little later in the show.
All right, well, thank you, Chris. Frozen pipes can possibly lead to bigger issues at hand as well. Joplin authorities responded to a fire shortly after 8 a.m. in the Royal Heights neighborhood on Friday. Authorities say the residents were working to thaw frozen pipes under a sink and unknowingly started a fire within the walls. The fire was under control shortly after 11. No one was hurt. Firefighters came to aid of a dog owner trying to save their pup after it fell through a frozen lake. The Oklahoma City Fire Department said its crews were called to the scene where a dog owner was holding a rope attached to a dog that had fallen through the ice. Firefighters used a paddle boat to rescue the dog and bring it back to the shore. The dog had no apparent injuries, the department said. Local churches, KNEO 91.7 FM, and the city of Neosho hosted their 20th annual community Christmas dinner on Sunday. The event was held in Neosho Municipal Auditorium, but meal delivery was available upon request. This year, over 500 people received a meal.
There's no doubt what sustains it is the people. You know, God working through the people and the people working together. The Neosho community, Newton County community, they're just giving people. They care about people. Neighbor helps neighbor, and this is just another way to help the neighbors. Some you never know. But, you know, we do have a place for them to come, and especially this year, it's a little cold outside, so it's a good place to come in and get warm.
Meals were delivered to the Neosho Fire and Police Departments, local EMS, the Newton County Jail, and those that are homebound and those that receive Meals on Wheels. Four-staters may experience their pipes freezing from the cold winter weather. KOAM's Yana Hotela talked with a Pittsburgh plumber and their resident about the issues that some residents may face during the colder temperatures.
The winter weather in the four states is freezing residents' pipes. A local plumber in Pittsburgh says they already gotten quite a few calls about the issue.
See how there's holes in the foundation?
Paul Keys, owner of SDM Plumbing, says when air temperatures are negative 20 with a 25-mile-an-hour wind, pipes are freezing. It is important to check your foundation to prevent any issues.
It'll have cracks in the bricks and stuff, and if you have to use just spray foam or something like that, put some spray foam in the cracks and make sure your access is closed and sealed, and the little vent blocks around there that either the doors are shut or you cut a piece of plywood and stuff it in there.
Pittsburgh resident Joe Andrews says his foundation vents and trapdoor to go under the foundation are closed up and faucets have been dripping overnight. He has never had pipes freezing until now because of a crack in a pipe.
I don't like this time of year anyway. I'd just soon it be 100 degrees outside. But I try to do my best because, you know, I can't get underneath there and fix it.
Fixing pipes can be costly.
Time's been tough for everybody, but it's always good to save money back when you can, just because, you know, it could be anything.
To thaw a small single pipe, you can use a hairdryer. For multiple ones, a plumber is usually needed. He says a jet heater that is often used can easily cause a house fire and requires attention at all times.
It shoots a flame about 6 inches long, and people have actually lit their house on fire doing that. And so we use like an 8-foot long piece of pipe, and it forces the air under the house but keeps the fire outside.
In Pittsburgh, Janna Haudala, KOAM News.
Keith says that they can usually thaw a house out in about an hour or two. He also says about half of the time pipes will thaw out without a broken line. This morning we were discussing how we stay in touch.
Now earlier we took you to a post office in Minneapolis to see all of the inner workings involved in delivering traditional mail, especially this time of year.
There's a lot of high-tech and low-tech moving parts to get mail and packages delivered to where they need to go. But 2022, we have a lot of options for how we can stay in contact with family and friends.
That brings us to our question for you this morning. How do you stay in touch? Is it through mail, a text, phone, email, all of those things, or maybe something else? So far, 100% of you say you stay in touch via text message. That's probably the fastest, easiest way to do it. Yes. I'll make sure you vote through our website, through our app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up on this half hour of KOAM Morning News. An Alaskan couple get to witness a sight few get to see, a moose losing its antlers.
Plus, the Mega Millions jackpot continues to grow. Do you have the winning ticket? Tell you how much it's up to when we come back. You're watching the KOAM Morning News, more real news in the morning. We'll be back.
Topping World Watch, the Taliban is warning U.S. officials against interfering with what they're calling Afghanistan's internal issues. The message came from Taliban spokesperson who tweeted Sunday saying no one will be allowed to speak out under the title of humanitarian aid. It comes after the Taliban offered all local and national non-governmental organizations to stop female employees from coming to work. And following a tweet from U.S. Charged Affairs Karen Decker on Sunday, questioning how the Taliban administration intends to prevent the starvation of women and children. Other officials spoke out on Saturday, including the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and U.S. Special Representative to Afghanistan Thomas West, who called the order, quote, profoundly irresponsible. War takes no holiday in Ukraine, where people would normally celebrate Christmas on January 7th, as do Orthodox Christians in Russians, but not this year. Ian Lee has the story.
On this holy night, not all is calm, not all is bright in Ukraine. The intense fighting continues. Ukrainian forces fire what they call presents at the Russians. In Bakhmut, soldiers keep the Christmas spirit alive, decorating a tree to the melody of artillery. Fear replaces holiday cheer on the city's deadly streets. This resident says we have to survive and keep on living. While on the front line further north, carol singers add a splash of color to these soldiers' dull, war-torn world. This man says he's thankful for the distraction, even if it was brief. In central Kyiv, families gather for pictures around the Christmas tree. Anna brought her 20-month-old Milana. She tells me, I try to make the holiday positive for my daughter, but when there's anxiety in my soul, of course she can feel it. This woman's brother is stuck behind enemy lines. She tells me his situation is horrible. They have no power, gas, or water. They gather in homes with wood-burning stoves to stay warm. President Zelensky's Christmas message reflected the mood of his defiant nation, saying freedom will return to all Ukrainians, while adding that they won't wait for a miracle because they'll create it themselves. Then these would be the country's miracle workers, ordinary soldiers praying for salvation.
That's a look at one of your biggest headlines around the world. Here's Chris with our look at your forecast.
Yeah, we got a little wintry precipitation out there. At least some of us did overnight, and that's led to some slick spots on the roadways. MoDOT camera at I-44 and Range Line. As cars have been traveling, the roads have been a bit wet. You also may need to do a little scraping out there as well. It might take a couple extra minutes, so do be prepared if you're planning to travel. Skywatch Storm Tracker showing some wintry precipitation in southeast Kansas. Most of that, though, not reaching the ground right now. We could have some gusty winds today, but the big story on potential gusts is later this week as we head into tomorrow afternoon and into Thursday and Friday even. Look at this. This is tomorrow afternoon. We start to see winds gusting 30, 40, 45 miles an hour, and that's not even the peak of it as we get into the 50-mile-an-hour range with wind gusts out there, and that's enough to potentially down some tree limbs or even potentially power lines. So be aware of that as we head into Wednesday. As you can see, winds still gusting up there. Thursday morning, winds still gusting up there, and even as we head through the day Thursday, winds still gusting 40, 45, close to 50 miles an hour. Right now in Joplin, 32. This is as warm as we're going to get as temperatures will fall through the day. Feels like 24 with a southwest breeze at 10 miles an hour. Cold for us to start the day. 28 Fort Scott, Iola, 29 Chitopa, 30 Miami and Monette, and 31 in Carthage. You factor in the wind, feels like 19 in Fort Scott and Nevada, 25 in Miami, feels like 23 over in Carthage. KDOT still reporting some wet pavement and some partially covered roadways across southeast Kansas. So if you're traveling this morning, be aware of that. Slow down, give yourself plenty of time. Same situation on the Missouri side. Really bigger focus on the city of Joplin and points north is where MoDOT is reporting still some partially covered roadways out there. Now, as we go through today, Again, early high of 33. Temperatures will fall through the day with partly to mostly cloudy skies, back down to a really nice 10 degrees tonight as we'll see increasing cloud cover. Then we take a look at the 7-day forecast, and it's a little bit better. 39 tomorrow, 52 by Wednesday. 63 Thursday, maybe some evening showers and thunderstorms carrying into Friday morning, 58. Some early showers possible on New Year's Eve, 53. And by New Year's Day, we're mostly cloudy, a high of 55 degrees. So some warmer weather on the way. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Frozen pipes can possibly lead to bigger issues at hand as well. Joplin authorities responded to a fire shortly after 8 a.m. in the Royal Heights neighborhood on Friday. Authorities say the residents were working to thaw frozen pipes under the sink and unknowingly started a fire within the walls. The fire was under control shortly after 11. No one was hurt. Firefighters came to the aid of a dog owner trying to save their pup after it fell through a frozen lake. The Oklahoma City Fire Department said its crews were called to the scene where a dog owner was holding a rope attached to a dog that had fallen through the ice. Firefighters used a paddle boat to rescue the dog and bring it back to the shore. The dog had no apparent injuries, the department said. Many area roads are clear now, but there are some that could still be dangerous. It's important to still keep an eye out for any patches of ice while driving. Officials with Joplin Public Works say they are continuing to treat roads to keep them safe. You can find information about current road conditions on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Some four-staters may experience their pipes freezing from the cold winter weather. Paul Keys, a local plumber in Pittsburgh, says when the air temperatures are -20 with a 25-mile-an-hour wind, pipes are freezing. There are times when just one pipe is frozen and it can be thawed with a hairdryer. For larger issues, Keys and his team uses a jet heater to thaw pipes under the houses, but it is important to keep safety in mind when doing it as the heater can cause a fire. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. We'll be right back after this break. It's a rare sight to catch on camera. An Alaskan couple says their doorbell camera recorded a moose leaving behind a surprise Christmas gift. David Allgood explains.
Here in Alaska, seeing a moose on a doorbell cam, you can just rack it up to another day.
Mostly we've gotten a lot of wildlife, a lot of moose in this area.
So when Tyra Bogert and her husband Chance got the alert that something was moving...
What is that? That's super weird. No one's home. So then I click on it and we're like, oh, that's a moose. Wonder what he's gonna do.
And what that moose did next? Well, it was nothing short of unheard of. This bull seems to sense something's up.
And then next thing you know, he starts shaking and then his antlers fall off and we both look at each other and I was like, holy crap.
Holy Bullwinkle is right. You saw it. Both antlers? Chance says, well...
He was standing there and he shook like a dog and they just plopped off and fell on the ground and it looked to me like he was pretty scared.
He was a scaredy moose who lost his crown.
He shut him off and scared him so badly he jumped out of his shoes.
His little moose shoes. Little moose shoes.
Yep.
But do they have moose socks? Anywho.
It seemed like the moose was just as surprised that they came off.
Yeah, he was pretty shocked. He scared the crap out of himself, that's for sure. He took off running the other way.
And they didn't even have to hunt for these.
Has he gotten a rack this big? Pretty big?
No, sadly, my husband has not shot his first moose yet.
Oh.
So this is our first rack.
That's awesome. And it came right to you. It was a Christmas present.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking. So pretty cool Christmas gift.
Oh, and 3-month-old son Thrasher. He actually fits inside the antler palm in this moose video after 4 days on TikTok.
We have 14.5 million views as of like 2 o'clock today.
Can you say viral?
For him to come in my yard and drop him in the middle of my yard, I think that's just a 1 in a million chance.
And that's coming from a guy named Chance. So how about a group photo, everybody?
One more time. And I know you already, so be careful. Don't knock yourself out.
Just hit me in the face. It's good.
Goodness. Well, just shake it off. Oh, and this big fella?
Well, good. Yeah, that's a question, too. Have you seen him since?
Yeah, he was actually here about an hour ago.
You're kidding.
He's just munching on the trees.
Well, that's pretty cool. I would definitely hang those up in my house. According to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, moose, like any male animal in the deer family, usually shed their antlers in the winter for 2 reasons. Firstly, it's the end of the breeding season. Secondly, antlers are heavy and can become a burden for animals to carry around when they are trying to eat enough to survive in the cold. We'll be right back after this. How about a mega big lottery prize to round out your year? The Mega Million jackpot rolled over again after no one came up a winner for the game's top prize on Friday night's drawing. It is now an estimated $565 million that would go to the holding of the winning ticket. That would represent a 6th largest prize in Mega Millions history. The jackpot has grown ever since the last grand prize was split between 2 winning tickets on October 14th. Your odds to win the whole thing remain roughly about 1 in more than 302 million. The next drawing is set for tomorrow. Santa's job isn't just at the North Pole, it's at malls and stores, and he may be enjoying the paycheck for sitting and being jolly for a while. Job site ZipRecruiter says the jolly old man in red earns about $22.87 an hour, according to one Santa company. That could be a little low. The Santa Claus Company says that a Santa working a full season at the mall can bring in from $5,000 to $12,000. The company says demand for Santas jumped more than 20% from last year.
There's a definite increase in demand for Santa, and it still feels like Santa-like weather out there. We had some slick spots on the area roadways. We're at 33 right now, about as warm as we're going to get today. Southwest breeze at 10, making it feel like 25 in Joplin. Cold for us across the region as we start our day. 28 Iola, Fort Scott, 25 Parsons, 29 Chetopa, 30 Miami, 29 Neosho, 30 Monette, and 31 over in Carthage. And you factor in the light breeze we've got, feels like 22 in Iola, 19 Fort Scott, Nevada, and feels like 25 in Miami. KDOT still reporting some wet pavement to partially covered roadways across a good portion of southeast Kansas. So if you're traveling this morning, do be aware of that. And as we take a look at the Missouri side, it's been the same situation pretty much all morning long. It's roughly Joplin and points north that MoDOT's still reporting some partly covered roadways. So do be cautious out there this morning. Again, our high 33, that's going to happen about now, and then we'll just drop through the day. Maybe some gusty winds, partly to mostly cloudy skies, down to 10 degrees for our overnight low tonight, and we'll also see clouds begin to increase as we look ahead to the week that we've got for us. 39 tomorrow, 52 on Tuesday. Maybe some evening showers and thunderstorms lasting into Friday morning, so 63 on Thursday, 58 Friday, maybe some showers early on New Year's Eve day, 53, and by New Year's Day, we're mostly cloudy and 55. So these showers should be out of here in time for you to celebrate the holiday. We got a lot more of the KOAM Morning News right after this. And some of us got some wintry precipitation overnight, so we do still have some slick roads out there. We'll talk about slick conditions and today's forecast coming up.
So one of the dangers of frozen pipes this time of year is in the potential for house fires. Joplin Fire Department had to battle a blaze as a result of sub-zero temperatures.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Carrie Worthen.
I'm Chris Warner. So another cold start for us today. And unfortunately, even though it's pretty cold to start our day today, it's going to get colder as the day goes on. Temperatures are actually expected to drop through the day, so we've got that to contend with. You can see the the reflection in the headlights from the cars there at the MoDOT camera at I-44 and Range Line. Still some slick spots out there on local roadways, and because some of us did get some wintry precipitation, it may take you a couple extra minutes out there to scrape some of this off your car. Now for my car, it seemed to be more of a sleet situation with just a thin glaze of ice, so it came off pretty easily, but just be aware of that. Some wintry precipitation trying to fall across parts of the area, most of this not reaching the ground, which is good news. We're going to talk about the winds a little later, but they're really going to start to gust later this week. 33 in Joplin, that's as warm as we're going to see today. Southwest breeze at 10, feels like 25. Temperatures are going to fall through the day. We'll talk about that too. 30 in Yates Center, 29 Parsons, 32 Miami, 33 in Neosho and Carthage, and 30 up in Nevada. Factor in the wind, feels like 21 Fort Scott, 22 Nevada, 28 in Miami, and feels like 24 degrees in Carthage. KDOT still reporting some wet pavement to partly covered roadways in our area in southeast Kansas. So if you're traveling, just be aware of that. Take your time. It's not a race to get where you're going. We've been saying this the last several days. You want to arrive alive. So just be cautious out there. On my way in between Missouri and Kansas, I've seen wet spots where the road was just plain old wet, but there were still some slick spots out there as well. Missouri reporting, MoDOT reporting some partly covered roadways, mainly in the city of Joplin and points north. So again, be aware of that as if you're traveling this morning. Today, again, the high 33, it's where we're at right now, and temperatures will fall through the day, partly to mostly cloudy skies, down to 17 by 8. And tonight, we're going to drop back down to 10 degrees under mostly cloudy to just plain old cloudy skies. However, warm weather is on the horizon, up 39 tomorrow, 52 Wednesday, 63 Thursday, maybe some evening showers and storms lasting into Friday morning, 58 Friday. Showers on New Year's Eve, but the good news is, at least right now, these are looking to be a little bit on the early side, so that's definitely good. And you should be all right for New Year's Eve. 55 by New Year's Day and mostly cloudy. And I wanted to quickly just talk about the winds. As we head into tomorrow afternoon, we're going to start to see those wind gusts picking up to roughly 40, 45 miles an hour. And as we head through tomorrow evening into Wednesday and Thursday, we could see wind gusts upwards of 50, possibly reaching 60 miles an hour. So that is enough to potentially bring down power lines and small tree limbs. So just be aware, even though it's going to start to warm up and be pretty nice, as is common around here, we can't have that kind of nice weather without really gusty winds. And as we head through the rest of this week, we are looking at the potential for some very gusty winds.
I know that there's gusty winds, but at least it's going to be almost 70 Wednesday. That's what's in my head right now.
Yeah, it's going to be, we got a pretty mild week ahead of us. Now, those temperatures, though, are upwards of 20 some odd degrees warmer than where they should be, but at least we're getting a break from this very, very cold weather.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Don't forget, you can be the first to know about the day's weather with the KOAM Skywatch weather app. Get severe weather updates sent straight to your phone, free of charge. It's available in Apple's App Store and Google Play Store, the KOAM Skywatch weather app. The 4 states got its own taste of the near blizzard-like conditions recently, but for some states this winter, storms turned deadly. Hundreds of thousands of Americans experienced power outages at some point over the weekend from Maine to Washington state. Even the snowplows in Buffalo, New York, needed a rescue as they dig out continues from massive winter storms that the state's governor says has nothing short of a battle. So far, the storm has been blamed for at least 38 deaths nationwide. Buffalo, New York was hit especially hard with at least 11 deaths confirmed. That number expected to climb. We'll have more on the massive coast-to-coast winter storm later in the show. A Christmas Day crash leads to serious injuries for a Purcell, Missouri woman. Troopers say 2023 Buick Teresa, driven by Lisa Bryant of Purcell, traveled off the right side of the road and struck a tree. She was transported to Mercy Hospital in Joplin with serious injuries. Police arrest 2 people who they say robbed a Pittsburgh convenience store. Authorities say just before 5 Friday morning, they got a call about a robbery at the Snack Attack. At the same time, they noticed 29-year-old Benjamin Lewis running down an alley in the area and getting into a waiting car. Officers started chasing. Lewis then left the car and tried to hide under a house. Lewis was arrested along with the car's driver, 27-year-old Cheyenne McNaught. Frozen pipes can possibly lead to bigger issues at hand as well. Joplin authorities responded to a fire shortly after 8 a.m. in the Royal Heights neighborhood on Friday. Authorities say the residents were working to thaw frozen pipes under the sink and unknowingly started a fire within the walls. The fire was under control shortly after 11. No one was hurt. Many area roads are clear now, but there are some that could still be dangerous. It's important to still keep an eye out for any patches of ice while driving. Officials with Joplin Public Works say they are continuing to treat roads to keep them safe.
Well, what happened was because we were looking at the weather, we didn't want to lay anything down because we thought it was supposed to be a wintry mix. So normally what we'll do is we'll lay brine down, and that way we have something between the surface and the snow to help melt that snow down.
You can find information about current road conditions on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Some 4-staters may experience their pipes freezing from the cold winter weather. Paul Keys, a local plumber in Pittsburgh, says when temperatures are negative 20 with a 25-mile-an-hour wind, pipes are freezing. There are times when just one pipe is frozen. It can be thawed with a hairdryer. For larger issues, Keys and his team will use a jeet heater to thaw pipes under the houses, but it is important to keep safety in mind when doing it, as a heater can cause a fire.
Anytime you put a heat source under your house, you need to be careful. All of my people carry a fire extinguisher with them. If you are trying to do something to heat under your house, you should have a fire extinguisher ready, and you should not leave it unattended.
Key says they have usually thawed a house out in about an hour or two. He also says about half of the time pipes will thaw out without a broken line. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. The 4 states have been firsthand the power of winter storms last week, but 4 states in the east, the weather turned downright deadly. Plus, if you're in your 50s, we got some good news. One new study suggests you may be finally catching up on that sleep you've been putting off. And Chris has another look at your 4 states forecast coming up. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, a major winter storm system turned deadly as it brought freezing temperatures and dangerous conditions to millions of Americans over the weekend. So far, the storm has been blamed for at least 38 deaths nationwide. Buffalo, New York was hit especially hard with at least 11 deaths confirmed. That number is expected to climb. CBS's News' Jared Hill has the latest.
Even the snowplows in Buffalo, New York needed a rescue as the dig-out continues from a massive winter storm that the state's governor says has been nothing short of a battle.
We are in a war. This is a war with Mother Nature.
Hundreds of thousands of Americans experienced power outages at some point over the weekend, from Maine to Washington state, where there were also reports of possible vandalism at multiple substations in Graham.
If I had to talk to those people, I'd just say, come on, it's Christmas. Why are you going to do that to people?
The frigid temperatures also caused major disruptions across the South. Burst water pipes brought a wet Christmas for Georgia repair crews and led to a boil water advisory in parts of Mississippi.
We're getting ready to order DoorDash because we can't cook, we can't wash our dishes, can't do any of that to be able to even have a small feast.
In El Paso, Texas, public buses were provided to give migrants a warm alternative to sleeping on the streets.
They allowed us to get inside the bus and stay warm throughout the night, and a lot of people went inside the bus because it was too cold.
Travel nightmares also continued throughout the weekend at the nation's airports.
I got a text saying that I was rebooked. When I tried to change it, it said that I needed to call the maintenance line or whatever, and they actually didn't answer.
More than 9,000 flights were canceled or delayed in the U.S. on Christmas Day, according to FlightAware. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
A survey conducted by the online travel website The Vacationer shows that today and tomorrow are expected to be the busiest or worst days to fly after the holiday. The website says Wednesday or Thursday are the best days for air travels to book their flights. That's a look at one of top's national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, some of us got a little wintry precipitation last night, and that led to some additional slick spots on local roadways. We've been looking at the MoDOT camera at I-44 and Rangeline, and as cars come passing through, you can see there's a little bit of a glare from their headlights on the roadway. And what I ran into this morning was there were a lot of these roads were just plain wet, but there were still some slick spots out there as well. So you need to slow down, give yourself plenty of time. Thanks to that wintry precipitation, some of us may need to spend an extra couple of minutes out there scraping. Again, I just give you my perspective. I just ran into what seemed like sleet and a thin glaze of ice on my windshield, so it didn't take too long, but do be prepared to spend a little extra time. Some wintry precipitation showing up on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Most of this not actually reaching the ground, which is good news. We've had our share of wintry precipitation, and as we head through the week ahead, we'll look at these future possible wind gusts. This is Wednesday, 5 a.m. We're looking at winds gusting close to 60 miles an hour across the area, and it doesn't let up as we head into Wednesday afternoon. Same situation, 50-mile-an-hour wind gust. We go into Thursday early morning, we're back to pushing near 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and that's enough to potentially bring down small tree limbs and potentially cause power outages. So do be prepared for that this week. We're going to take a full look at your forecast, including the New Year's holiday, when we come back. Well, even though we are pretty well done with wintry precipitation for a while, there's still a little bit of it that fell for some of us last night, and that's left us with, once again, some slick spots on the roadways. You can see I-44 and Rangeline from the MoDOT camera, the reflections there. The roadways, some of them are just plain wet. Others are wet with some slick spots built in, and because of that wintry precipitation, you may need to take a couple of extra minutes to do some scraping on your car if you're heading out this morning. I don't know what you'd be handing out this morning, but if you're heading out, you may need to scrape your car. Wintry precipitation on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Most of this not falling, which is good news because we've had our share of wintry precipitation and wintry weather. Unfortunately, we're not quite done with the wintry weather yet. Now, as we head into tomorrow afternoon, we start our gradual warm-up here. We also see the south winds, but we see these south winds gusting upwards of 30, 40, 45 miles an hour, and that's not even where they top out. We head into Wednesday morning, 5 a.m. We're looking at wind gusts pushing around 60 miles an hour potentially, and that'll hold on through the day on Wednesday, still 50 mile an hour wind gusts, and into Thursday morning they ramp back up to near 60 degrees. My goodness, it's a Monday for sure following the holiday. I had a little too much turkey, a little too much food over the weekend, something like that. But 60 mile an hour wind gusts still a possibility, and that is enough to potentially bring down small tree limbs and cause power outages. So be aware that even though we're not dealing with storms on these particular days or at these particular times, we could still be dealing with power outages from these gusty winds. We're at 33 in Joplin right now. Really, for all of us this morning, where we are now is as warm as we're really going to get because temperatures are going to fall today. Southwest breeze at 10, making it feel like 25. So we take a look at temperatures across the region. We got 28 Iola, 29 Fort Scott, 31 Chatopa, 32 Miami, and up to 33 in Neosho. And with that light breeze we've got, feels like 21 Fort Scott, 28 in Miami, feels like 26 in Neosho right now. KDOT still reporting some wet pavement to partially covered roadways across parts of southeast Kansas. So again, if you're traveling this morning, be aware of that. Do be cautious out there. And same in Missouri, but this has really been focused this morning in the city of Joplin and points north of I-44. MoDOT still reporting some partially covered roadways out there as well. So slow down, give yourself plenty of time. 33 degrees. Again, that's our early high. Temperatures fall throughout the day. Will be partly to mostly cloudy, maybe some gusty winds out there. Tonight, we're down to 10 degrees, and we'll see clouds begin to increase, so not very warm at all. And then as promised, the warm-up, 39 tomorrow, 52 by Wednesday, maybe some evening storms Thursday, lasting into Friday morning, 63, 58. Some showers on New Year's Eve, but they should be out of here before it's time to celebrate, 53. And then mostly cloudy New Year's Day and 55 degrees. We've got a lot more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the rising cost of fertilizer could put another 100 million people at risk of undernourishment. A new international study finds fertilizer and energy prices will have the biggest impact on food security, and that the higher costs could drive up food prices by more than 80% next year compared to 2021. Artificial intelligence has arrived in the operating room. A study at Birmingham and Women's Hospital developed a way to use artificial intelligence to help diagnose diseases in tissue samples during surgery. Researchers say the method could potentially be used during cancer surgeries to test a tumor's margin and whether it is benign or malignant. And being in your 50s means you finally get more sleep. An international study tracked sleep patterns over the human lifespan. It found the amount of sleep we get, it declines during our 20s and early 30s. It plateaus from 33 to 53 and then starts to increase. Researchers say the demands of working in childcare may explain the loss of sleep during midlife. The holidays can be the most wonderful time of year, but for some, the winter season has a negative effect. Seasonal affective disorder impacts millions of Americans, leading to symptoms of depression. Bradley Blackburn has more on what doctors say you can do about it.
Every morning in the fall and winter, McGann Feldman starts the day with a cup of coffee and one very bright light.
I just have it kind of at the side while I'm having my breakfast, reading the paper.
Feldman says she first experienced symptoms of depression more than 30 years ago, serious enough to require hospitalization. Her doctors later realized some of her symptoms were connected to the changing seasons.
It was a surprise I'd never heard of seasonal affective disorder.
Our bodies, really depend upon light from the sun or sunlight to regulate our circadian rhythms.
Dr. Dorothy Sitt is a psychiatrist with Northwestern University. She studies how light therapy can help treat seasonal affective disorder and other forms of depression.
More recent studies have shown that it can be very helpful for treating non-seasonal major depression. It can be used on its own or in combination with some antidepressant medicine.
According to a recent American Psychiatric Association poll, nearly 40% of Americans say their mood declines in winter, and a quarter report feeling depressed. Patients with seasonal affective disorder can feel fatigued or less motivated, and they may not be able to enjoy their normal activities.
That treatment makes a big difference for you.
It's fair to say it's almost life or death to me because I know where I have been without it in the winter.
In addition to light therapy, Feldman takes antidepressants with higher doses from October through May.
There are tools out there that can help people be happy, lead a normal life, and not feel alone.
She wants others to know the winter blues are real, but help is out there. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Doctors say light therapy can help people feel improvements within 2 to 3 days of regular use, and full response is seen within 3 weeks. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We've got a chilly start for us today, 33 degrees in Joplin right now, but that's as warm as it gets. Temperatures are going to fall through the day. Southwest breeze at 10, making it feel like 25. Across the region, we are cold, but again, this is as warm as it gets, so enjoy it while we've got it this morning. 31 Iola, 35 Chanute, 32 Chetopa, Miami, 30 in Neosho. Factoring in the wind, feels like 23 in Iola, 28 Parsons, 27 Miami, feels like 24 down in Neosho. KDOT still reporting some wet pavement and partially covered roadways across a good portion of southeast Kansas, so do make sure you are careful if you are traveling this morning. And we're seeing the same thing on the Missouri side, mainly in the city of Joplin and north of I-44 is where we're still seeing some partly covered roadways out there, so do be cautious if you're driving this morning. Again, early high in the lower 30s. Before temperatures begin to fall through the day, we could have some gusty winds. Otherwise, we're going to be mostly to partly cloudy through the day. As we head into tonight, we drop back down to a very chilly 10 degrees for our overnight low with some increasing cloud cover. However, it starts to warm up. 39 tomorrow, 52 by Wednesday. Maybe some evening showers and storms Thursday into Friday morning, 63 and 58. Showers on New Year's Eve day should be out of here before it's time to celebrate the new year, 53. And for New Year's Day, we're mostly cloudy and 55 degrees. We got a lot more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Right now at 6:30, Joplin's not out of the woods yet when it comes to icy road conditions. We'll have the latest.
And we still have some slick spots out there thanks to some late night wintry precipitation. We'll talk about those slick roads and today's forecast coming up.
One of the dangers of frozen pipes this time of year is the potential for house fires. Joplin Fire Department had to battle a blaze as a result of sub-zero temperatures.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Carrie Worthen.
I'm Chris Warner. So it's a cold one. I've been saying it all morning. That's really all I have to tell you.
The same thing.
It's a cold one. It's cold. It's going to be cold. It's actually going to get colder as the day goes on. But there's warm weather on the way, and that's something to look forward to. I-44 and Rangeline, the MoDOT camera there. You can see the reflection on the roadway. It's because some of these roads are wet. Some of them still have slick spots out there, so you need to be taking it easy. You may need to do a little scraping this morning, especially if you got some of that wintry precip last night. Could take you an extra couple of minutes to get done what you need to get done if you're traveling this morning. Some wintry precipitation showing up on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Most of this not reaching the ground right now. Here's the other story. So we could have some gusty winds today. We're talking, maybe 20 miles an hour. This is Tuesday afternoon. You can see they start picking up 30, 40 miles an hour. We head into Wednesday morning. Look at this, wind gusts 50, potentially reaching upwards of 60 miles an hour. And boy, it does not let up. We go into Wednesday afternoon, same situation. We go into Thursday morning, same situation. These wind gusts could get pretty nasty, and they could be enough to potentially down some small tree limbs and or power lines. So do be aware of that. In Joplin right now, 33 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. Feels like 25 with the southwest breeze at 10. As I mentioned, our temperatures are going to fall through the day. So this morning is really as warm as we're going to get. 35 Chanute, 32 Chetopa, Miami, Carthage, 30 in Neosho, 31 in Monette. Feels like 23 in Iola, feels like 26 Columbus, 27 Miami, and feels like 24 in Carthage when you factor in that breeze. Now, as we mentioned, we're not out of the woods yet on those slick spots. KDOT still reporting some wet pavement, even some partially covered highways across southeast Kansas. So if you're traveling out there this morning, do be cautious. And same on Missouri, and it's been this way through the morning so far, mainly within the city of Joplin and points north of I-44. We're still looking at some partly covered roadways out there, so do give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. All right, our high early today, about 33 degrees, and then we'll drop through the day. 25 by noon, 21 by 5, down to 17 by 8. Again, maybe some gusty winds, partly to mostly cloudy skies. Clouds increase tonight, drop back down to a low of 10 degrees. And I want to show you the 7-day forecast, though, because it's going to make you smile a little bit. 39 tomorrow, 52 by Wednesday. Maybe some evening showers and thunderstorms Thursday into Friday morning, 63 and 58. 53 on New Year's Eve day. We could see some showers, but they should be out of here before it's time for the evening festivities. And then by New Year's Day itself, look at that, 55 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. So well above average temperatures ahead of us, but we're finally going to break out of this Arctic spell for a little bit.
Okay, that's two things to keep in mind. Warm your vehicles up, drive slow.
Yeah, for today, definitely watch out. There's still some slick spots. I mean, my drive in, I'm on some busier some main highways, and I take some back roads to get here. Main highways, a lot of them were wet, but there were still some patchy snow spots on there, some slick spots. The back roads, though, it was hit and miss. Some of them had some dry areas, and then all of a sudden you'd hit an area still covered with some snow. So just take it easy, take it slow. We haven't done a lot of melting yet, but that will change over the course of the next couple of days.
All right, thank you, Chris. A Christmas Day crash leads to serious injuries for a Purcell, Missouri woman. Troopers say a 2023 Buick Teresa, driven by Lisa Bryan of Purcell, traveled off the right side of the road and struck a tree. She was transported to Missouri Mercy Hospital in Joplin with serious injuries. Police arrest two people who say they robbed a Pittsburgh convenience store. Authorities say just before 5 Friday morning, they got a call about a robbery at the Snack Attack. At the same time, they noticed a 29-year-old Benjamin Lewis running down an alley in the area and get into a waiting car. Officers started chasing. Lewis then left the car and tried to hide under a house. Lewis was arrested along with the car's driver, 27-year-old Cheyenne McNaught. Frozen pipes can possibly lead to bigger issues at hand as well. Joplin authorities responded to a house fire shortly after 8 a.m. in the Royal Heights neighborhood on Friday. Authorities say the residents were working to thaw frozen pipes under the sink and unknowingly started a fire within the walls. The fire was under control shortly after 11. No one was hurt. Many area roads are clear now, but there are some that still could be dangerous. It's important to keep an eye out for any patches of ice while driving. Officials with Joplin Public Works say they are continuing to treat roads to keep them safe.
Well, what happened was because we were looking at the weather, we didn't want to lay anything down because we thought it was supposed to be a wintry mix. So normally what we'll do is we'll lay brine down, and that way we have something between the surface and the snow to help melt that snow down.
You can find information about current road conditions on our website on KOAMnewsnow.com. For some four-staters may experience their pipes freezing from the cold winter weather. Paul Keys, a local plumber at Pittsburgh, says when air temperatures are -20 with a 25-mile-an-hour wind, pipes are freezing. There are times when just one pipe is frozen and it can be thawed with a hairdryer. For larger issues, Keys and his team use a jet heater to thaw pipes under the houses, but it is important to keep safety in mind when doing it, as heaters can cause a fire.
Anytime you put a heat source under your house, you need to be careful. All of my people carry a fire extinguisher with them. If you are trying to do something to heat under your house, you should have a fire extinguisher ready, and you should not leave it unattended.
He says that they usually can thaw a house out in about an hour or two. He also says about half of the time pipes will thaw out without a broken line. 5 generations of family members gathered for Christmas celebration in a Pierce City church. The large family with 22 grandchildren celebrated Christmas at the First Baptist Church in Pierce City. A few years back, family members realized the great-great-grandparents' house became too small and have been celebrating Christmas in church ever since. Latest addition, the 5th generation to the family was born last year on Christmas Eve. The great-grandmother, Deborah Parmley, says some family members live out of the state, so it's a blessing to have everyone together and bring their homemade foods.
Every Christmas and every Thanksgiving, we bring almost the same thing because we know everybody, okay, this is what you're bringing, just bring the same thing you did for Christmas or for Thanksgiving. So, yeah. And our mom, she has to make her potato salad because it's just like, it's the family thing.
We got family in South Carolina, Kansas City, Texas. Yep, they all make it.
Deborah Parmley says their family is known in the area as they take quite a lot of room to seat everyone in church. This morning we are discussing how we stay in touch.
Now, earlier, we took you to a post office in Minneapolis to see all of the inner workings involved in delivering traditional mail, especially this time of year.
There's a lot of high-tech and low-tech moving parts to get mail and packages delivered to where they need to go. But 2022, we have a lot of options for how we stay in contact with family and friends.
And that brings us to our question for you this morning. How do you stay in touch? Is it through mail, text messaging, phone calls, email, all of those things, or maybe something else? So far, 51% of you say you do texting. 33% of you say you do all of these things. 8% of you say you make phone calls, and 8% of you say that you communicate, stay in touch through email. So a lot of different options available these days, and we want to make sure that you vote and do so through our website, through our app, and of course take part in discussion on our Facebook page.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up on this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. One company is taking construction to higher tech new level with artificial intelligence.
Plus, we are keeping an eye on some still slick road conditions out there. We'll take a full look at your forecast and a warm-up when we come back.
In Consumer Watch this morning, President Biden is set to sign a nearly $2 trillion spending bill into law soon, after Congress averted a potential partial government shutdown by passing the measure last Friday. The massive package includes more than $700 billion for discretionary spending like healthcare, education, and transportation programs. Also, there's $850 billion for defense and more than $400 billion in Ukraine aid. The IRS is delaying a controversial rule that would have required gig workers and online sellers who receive payments of more than $600 via online payment platforms such as Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo to fill out a 1099-K tax form. The requirement is being pushed back 1 year after e-commerce platforms like eBay and Etsy said it creates confusion. Some lawmakers also expressed concerns that the rule could ensure people transferring funds to family and friends. This filing season will go by an old threshold of anyone who exceeds $20,000 or 200 transactions in a year in electronic payments. And if you're expecting to hit the stores in post-Christmas week, you won't be alone. The National Retail Federation survey found that 70% of consumers plan to shop, and at the top reason given is to take advantage of after-holiday sales. That's followed by those who want to use gift cards they received under the tree. 18% of shoppers say they plan to return unwanted gift items. Big construction projects are notorious for delays and running over budget. One company says it's a high-tech solution to get everything back on track. Ian Lee has the story.
Take a look around this nearly $200 million construction project.
We've got some of the ductwork coming up through one of the risers to the upper floors.
Project manager Bruce Preston juggles millions of pieces to help this hospital in England take shape.
So we've got 2,300 rooms and spaces that we need to keep track of what's going on in every one of those spaces.
Tracking progress is usually done by hand, but on this job, a 360-degree camera is capturing every inch of the site, using artificial intelligence to compare the images to the building's blueprints.
Tell you green whether it's all done, or orange whether it's work still to do.
Tech firm BuildDots says their AI system catches mistakes before they become a costly problem.
How many times does the industry lose money because it finds out way down the line that we missed something?
Construction is estimated to be a $10 trillion industry worldwide, with about $1.6 trillion wasted every year by productivity problems. Aviv Lebovici and his partners at BuildDots saw an opportunity.
This tool is about giving them the information to make the right decisions. How can you plan next week without knowing exactly where you are?
Building on time and on budget is good, especially when you're footing the bill.
Getting it right and having zero defects is really important to us.
And with a smarter pair of eyes on this job site, workers say their vision is already coming into focus. Ian Lee, CBS News, Bournemouth, England.
BuildDots says their AI technology is being used on construction site projects across the U.S., including New York City, Denver, and Los Angeles. That's a look for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got a cold start for us today, but unfortunately, this is as warm as we get. We're 33 in Joplin right now. Feels like 25 with a southwest breeze at 10 miles an hour. And across the area, again, cold start for us. 33 in Iola, 30 Fort Scott, 31 Nevada, 32 Pittsburgh, and 31 in Neosho. You factor in the wind, feels like 25 Neosho, 24 in Fort Scott. Feels like 25 in Nevada. And as we mentioned, this is as warm as it's going to get. Let's take a quick look. Road conditions. We're still dealing with wet pavement to partially covered roadways across southeast Kansas. So if you're traveling, do be cautious. We're seeing the same thing in the Missouri side as well, as we still have some partially covered roadways, especially in Joplin and north of I-44. So do be careful. Today we're heading for a high of 33 early. Temperatures fall throughout the day. Maybe some gusty winds, partly to mostly cloudy skies. And we're down to a low of 10 tonight with increasing cloud cover. We're going to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries coming up, but first, put on your hat and coat and warm up the car because we're headed to the Big Apple to see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
Hello to you, I'm Gail Kane. Coming up, a special holiday edition of CBS Mornings. We're going to show you why returning unwanted gifts may be harder than you think this year. Steve Hartman's got a lesson in gratitude in our Kindness 101 series. It's all coming.
We take this time to honor today's fourth-state hero, Richard Martinez, the native of Independence, Kansas. Martinez served in the U.S. Army in Iraq and Afghanistan from 2005 to 2012. To Richard Martinez, we thank you. Today's fourth-state hero.
All right, time for some Monday birthdays for us, and we begin in Moran with Tucker Insminger celebrating birthday number 6. Look at him riding that big guy out there. He's going to town. Tucker, a very happy birthday to you.
Okay, next we have Joshua Palmer. He is turning 13 and he's from Crestline, Kansas.
We've got Jasmine Sanchez Travis turning 16, and this comes with love from Mom, Dad, and Grandma. Happy birthday, Jasmine.
Okay, next we have Zach Corti. He is 23 from Humboldt.
And we also have Charity Seufert celebrating birthday number 50 in Humboldt, and Charity is Zach's aunt. So happy birthday to both of you.
All right, next we have Jared Earl. He is 46 from Jasper, Missouri.
And we've got Noel Moore celebrating birthday number 85. Happy birthday, Noel.
And then next we have a familiar face, Rhonda Zook. She is our KOAM business manager. We don't know how old you are, but I'm assuming you're in your 20s. You look really good.
She's aging quite well. I want to say that if I remember from what I heard last week, she's turning 25 this year. So Rhonda, happy birthday. And see, Rhonda handles everything at this station, it seems. So
and she wants you to know that she to check your email, guys.
Yes, absolutely. Check your email, KOAM people. Rhonda is tired of having to tell us, check your emails. Check your email, folks. Our list continues with Danny Peterson celebrating 52 years wiser in Iola, Kansas. Sharon Hyatt in Columbus is celebrating, as well as Linda Merritt in Chanute. Now, this list was kind of short. We want it to be a little longer. Carrie's going to tell you how you can make that happen.
Well, you can submit your birthdays to birthdays@koamtv.com or birthdays@koamnewsnow.com.
And while you're on our website getting the latest weather, news, sports, and everything else you need, take time, especially if you're celebrating, to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. You get some awesome deals from local businesses, and you also get a nice little birthday message from your friends here at KOAM. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com, sign up for the birthday club today. All right, getting a little dry mouth here, so I had to get something going here. All right, I-44 and Range Line. The roads are still wet in some areas. They are straight up slick in others. So you need to slow down, give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going, because some of us got a little wintry precipitation overnight, and that could lead to a few of us having to scrape your car for an extra couple of minutes this morning. So just be prepared if you're heading out today. As you can see, Skywatch Storm Tracker picking up some wintry precipitation. A lot of this not reaching the ground. Some of it is, but we're not expecting anything major out of any of this morning, so that's good news. Here's what we are expecting. Wind gusts today could push about 20 miles an hour. It's as we head into tomorrow through Thursday, we're really keeping an eye on. By Thursday afternoon, winds start gusting from 35 to 45 miles an hour, and then that increases as we head into Wednesday morning. Look at this, wind gusts pushing 50, 55 miles an hour, and it will stay breezy as we head into Wednesday afternoon and into Thursday morning. Wind gusts continue pushing 50, 55, potentially 60 miles an hour, and that is enough to bring down some small tree limbs and possibly cause power outages, so do be aware of that. We're 33 in Joplin right now, feels like 25 with a southwest breeze at 10, and this is as warm as we get today, folks, is where we are this morning. We got 33 Iola, 30 Fort Scott, 31 Lamar, 32 Miami, and 32 in Anderson. With the wind factored in, feels like 24 Iola, Fort Scott, feels like freezing in Miami, and feels like 25 in Neosho. KDOT still reporting some wet pavement to partially covered roads across most of southeast Kansas. So if you're traveling this morning, do be aware of that. Take it slow. Give yourself plenty of time to get where you're going. Missouri side, same situation in our area. Most of this is in Joplin and north of I-44, where MoDOT is still reporting some partly covered roadways out there. Early high in the lower 30s where we are now. Temperatures will fall through the day. Maybe some gusty winds, partly to mostly cloudy skies. As we head into tonight, we're back down to 10 for our low, but there is a warm up on the way. Take a look. 39 Tuesday, 52 Wednesday. Some showers and storms Thursday night into Friday morning, 63, 58. Showers New Year's Eve day, 53, but they'll be out of here before the celebrations. 55 and mostly cloudy by New Year's Day itself. We're back with more right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Frozen pipes can possibly lead to bigger issues at hand as well. Joplin authorities responded to a fire shortly after 8 a.m. in the Royal Heights neighborhood on Friday. Authorities say that residents were working to thaw frozen pipes under the sink and unknowingly started a fire within the walls. The fire was under control shortly after 11. No one was hurt. Firefighters came to the aid of a dog owner trying to save their pup after it fell through a frozen lake. The Oklahoma City Fire Department said its crews were called to the scene where a dog owner was holding a rope attached to a dog that had fallen through the ice. Firefighters used a paddle boat to rescue the dog and bring it back to the shore. The dog had no apparent injuries, the department said. Many area roads are clear now, but there are some that could still be dangerous. It's important to still keep an eye out for any patches of ice while driving. Officials with Joplin Public Works say they are continuing to treat roads to keep them safe. You can find information about current road conditions on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Some four-staters may experience their pipes freezing from the cold winter weather. Paul Keyes, a local plumber in Pittsburgh, says when air temperatures are -20 with a 25-mile-an-hour wind, pipes are freezing. There are times when just one pipe is frozen and it can be thawed with a hairdryer. For larger issues, Keyes and his team use a jet heater to thaw pipes under the houses. But it's important to keep the safety in mind when doing it, as the heater can cause a fire. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And what you need to know heading out the door is 33. The lower 30s is where we're making it right now. That's as warm as we get today as temperatures fall through the day. Could see some gusty winds later. Today, we're looking at partly to mostly cloudy skies, down 17 by 8. As we head into tonight, we drop back down to a low of 10. We'll see increasing cloud cover across the area. And as we look at the 7-day forecast, it gets better though. 39 tomorrow, up to 52 by Wednesday. We're looking at Thursday, Friday. Some late night storms Thursday carrying over into Friday morning possible. 63 Thursday, 58 Friday. Showers on New Year's Eve day, but these should be gone before it's time to celebrate. 53. And then take a look at New Year's Day itself. We head up for a high of 55 degrees. So we're going to go from well below normal to well above normal, all in a matter of about 72 hours here in the 4 states, but we wouldn't really have it any other way, would we?
And look at those low temperatures. They're not as low as what they will be.
No, any frozen pipes, anything like that, will be able to thaw, and of course we'll start to see some melting from that wintry stuff we got last week take place as well.
Okay, coming up today at noon, we're making jerk-style chicken in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
All right, and your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. Danny Elfman has composed some of the most iconic music in film and TV, from The Simpsons to Batman to Beetlejuice. Ahead on CBS Mornings, he talks to Anthony Mason about his secret to success.
Or you can switch over with us on Fox 14, where your local morning news continues. This morning, kids at a Utah school get a Christmas miracle when someone decides to pay off a lunch debt.
Plus, we've got some tips for how you can stay sober during the holidays. That's going to wrap it up for us for now. We will see you back here tomorrow morning, bright and early at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you here today at noon.